All right, y'all. Let's play some football.
La-dee-da-dee-da-dee-da. The cuffs are off, man. Get right. Too many left.
Hey everybody, Adam Rank here.
What's up, friends? Daniel Dopp here from the Fantasy Focused Football Podcast over on ESPN.
It's Fabs here, Michael Fabiano from Sports Illustrated.
Hey fans, this is AJ Dillon of the Green Bay Packers.
I got to give a shout out to y'all at Get Right Fantasy.
You know who you can trust? If you've got some questions about your fantasy squad,
If you are not subscribed, what are you waiting for? Do you want to lose your league? If you want to check out a cool show on YouTube that'll help you get ready for the fantasy football season,
check out the Get Right Fantasy Network.
check out the Get Right Fantasy Network. You got to get right with the Get Right Fantasy Network.
Best of luck with your podcast. Appreciate the support.
Get you right. Enjoy the show.
And I'm getting down cause I run my sleeves up. And I'm getting right cause I run my sleeves up. And I'm getting down cause I run my sleeves up. And I'm getting right cause I get.
What up? What up? What's going on, everybody in the chat out in YouTube? We got Kendall Vanderbilt here of the Fantasy Football Tavern and the Get Right Fantasy Network. Thanks for hanging out with us. We are doing a Scott Fishbowl 15 live mock draft tonight with my special guest who was gracious enough to let me crash his party the other week. We got Evan Sather with us. Evan, how you doing, my man?
I'm good, Kendall. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm glad. I hope you're doing as well. It just feels so good to be on with another Bears fan too.
Hey, we're going to suffer together. We are undefeated right now. This might be the best point in our season every year. So, we got to enjoy it while it takes, because I'll be perpetually probably drunk for about 17 weeks or so in a couple months here. So, I don't know. You got some hope that something might happen for us this year?
This time we have a real coach. So that's really all we needed. We haven't had a real coach since Lovie Smith.
Oh man, amen to that. Amen to that. If I were to get another jersey on the back wall, for sure, I would love to get me a Ben J. Of all the players now, throw me Ben J up on the wall back there. And Ben J, we trust. He's also responsible for me owning way too much Colston Loveland, so I might have some things to say about him later on. But Evan, is for those that don't know from our community, let me give you the floor here, man. You want to tell everyone who you are, what you got going on in the fantasy football community, what your folks are all about?
Absolutely. Good to see you all Get Right fanatics out there. My name is Evan Sather. I am a fantasy football analyst and podcast hoster with FantasyNow Plus and Optimus Fantasy. I am the host of Monday Night Mock Drafts on Optimus Fantasy, and I will also be... I'll also mention this at the end, too. I'll also be reappearing on the Club Fantasy FFL Mock It Like It's Hot show to promote Fantasy Now Plus's Super League, which we'll be doing a mock draft for that tomorrow. And as you can hear by my voice, I am sick, I have a cold, but I still feel good. I am ready for another Scott Fishbowl mock draft.
Love it, love it. So both of us are just gonna have sweat just running right down the back. Gotta love that. It's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be a good one. I'm recovering. My kids were all sick, so I'm on the tail end of it. Let's hop into a mock draft here, boys and girls. Let's go over the format real quick. So all you guys in here probably know. If you don't, definitely Google is one search bar away. We're doing a Scott Fishbowl 15 mock draft. So for those who don't know, real quick, it's crazy scoring. Offense is amped up to a bunch. It's ultra flex, I think what we're calling it. So it's positionless. You don't like tight end, you got to start a single one. So it's 11 roster, 11 bench. It's super flex, so you can start 2 QBs or no QBs. But outside of that, everything is a flex spot with the 2 super flexes. Tight ends are crack at 3.5, wide receivers 2.5 PPR, full point for a first down, half point per carry. Theme is volume is king. And definitely feel free, if you're watching, just Google Scott Fish scoring real quick. You can get it pulled up on the side, and it will explain why we're drafting a little bit crazy. I'm going to hit the go live button here in just a moment. But hey, real quick, Evan, so far you've done a couple, I've done a couple. Just a couple thoughts for everybody before we get live. Let's give out all of the strategies here. What are you thinking so far?
So far, in every single Scott Fishbowl mock draft I have hosted so far on Optimus, we have seen Jamar Chase go with the 101. So, Skolin NH, if you draft Jamar Chase, you will be keeping that streak going in every single mock that I have been present.
I like it indeed. I might try something different. Last time I said I was going to go just all running backs, and I think I took like 1 or 2 in my last one. So we're gonna see how this one goes.
Marty in the comments does bring up a good point, though. We do need that third round reversal because they did indeed keep it.
Hey, do I not have that set here? We are gonna check that real quick just in case. I believe I have it set. We did not have it set. Thank you, Chet. Hey, way to be on top of it.
Oh yeah,
Love it. Hey, blame me for all the production mistakes. So, hey, there we go. But I think without further ado, 30-second pick clock, so a little less cracked than the 10-second ones. Just a different format. I really want Evan and I to be able to break down some takes a little bit. And once we get towards the later rounds, you should be queued up by then. And so we'll start moving a little bit faster, despite our love for talking about the late round dart throws. I think by about round 12 or 13, we'll probably get it amped up a little bit. So without further ado, let's get this mock draft running. I'm going to be drafting from the 6th spot. And Evan, you're bringing us in at the 111.
I am the 11th. Yes, sir. Bijan Robinson. Can't go wrong with that one.
Yeah, Bijan is definitely my 101 right now for sure. And I'm definitely looking pretty heavy at the running backs. Have you found a format for how to navigate the sort of position list? You can't search for running back. You can't search for tight ends. What's working for you on how you're kind of sorting your players out?
So I haven't actually come up with a true strategy for that yet. I'm not that worried about the position so far, just because of the way the Ultraflex goes. We're going to have 9 regular traditional flexes and then 2 Superflex slots. So I'm just going to get my quarterbacks when I get them because it's Superflex anyway, and I'm not going to go crazy with whatever may come up. That's about as vague as I can keep it to not give away my strategy for the Chicago live draft in about 2 weeks from now. But I'm not that worried about it, to be honest, Kendall.
Interesting. I think I'm with you. I've been at that, like, I kind of, out of all the mock drafts, I actually kind of want to keep it a little close to the chest too, but I feel like I'm going to do so many mocks that if anyone wanted to, they will be able to do a little bit of scouting. Sounds like everyone's going, yeah.
And to be honest with the audience as well, this is going to be my first year doing Scott Fishbowl, so I have yet to discover what the chaos is going to be like. I've learned that last year we had the returner points, which we're not going to have this year. So it's going to be interesting to see the insane PPR value.
Oh, do we have...
What the heck just happened?
What just happened?
Oh no, we broke Sleeper.
Did we break Sleeper?
Oh wait, I have to refresh it too.
Okay, that was not going to be my pick, but I definitely had to refresh. That happened to you too, right?
Yeah, that was weird.
All right, well, that was a little bit crazy. All right, well, I guess we're going to start with a pretty controversial start. Somehow we're taking... okay, I was not going to go with Jefferson, but yeah, I think we broke Sleeper for a minute there. Either that or it was completely on my end.
You can't lose with Justin Jefferson, so that's a good auto pick.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's not the worst auto pick in the world there. How do you think about the Chase Jefferson versus Bowers? Are they close at all for you?
Well, with the tight end premium that we have in this year's Scott Fishbowl, I would definitely consider taking Bowers right next to those guys. I don't know if I would be brave enough to take them over both of the wide receivers, but going right there with them, yeah, in this format, you kind of have to.
On the clock, take us through your thoughts.
Let's go CeeDee Lamb here because I want my stud wide receiver.
Love it. Yeah, CeeDee. I feel like CeeDee could be a massive value this year. Like he's definitely in contention for. It's hard to say like 101 over Chase, but I think he's actually in that range of outcomes given how ridiculous Chase's just year was in general last year. I don't know. CeeDee slept on a little bit.
I think he's very well slept on because the Dallas Cowboys have an offense that, I mean, they went 7-10 last year. They were a horrible football team. Dak Prescott got hurt, CeeDee Lamb got hurt, and people are out on the Cowboys. Dak Prescott is a quarterback that I don't understand why so many people do not like him. Lack of rushing upside. Oh, he's always hurt. But he's a top 10 quarterback whenever he's healthy. So put some respect on that man's name. He may be 30 years old at this point, but he's got CD. He's got George Pickens. He's got Jake Ferguson. This is going to be at least a decent offense at worst. I mean, yeah, Mike McCarthy sucks at being a head coach, but we knew that going in.
I mean, you're not wrong there. Let's get spicy. Let's go a little controversial here.
Okay.
I don't have enough of him yet. I mean, for me, I was going with the running back there, and Henry seems like the logical choice. But for some tournament lineups, I'm going to take some spicy shots that I think that Tampa Bay's offense in totality is just, top 3 in the league and is pretty ridiculous. I think Bucky Irving for me has a lot of top 3 finishes this year, and yeah, I'm going to split some Henry and some Bucky, I think, in this range, just to mix my, I guess in this format, I'm not doing a bunch of drafts, but we'll see what happens live.
I'm not so sure that I'm ready to put Bucky Irving that high in my rankings either, because he is still sharing that backfield with Rachaad White for now, and Sean Tucker has shown that he can thrive pretty well in the offense too, but I don't think either of them are going to steal the job from Bucky Irving. They drafted him for a very good reason. I think they want him to be the lead guy.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I think, volume is king in this format, so Bucky could be one of those. Not sure how I feel about the pick in general, because he could split a little bit of time, but we'll have to see. It's kind of interesting that in this volume is king format, you're some of the picks, some of the pass catching running backs that you normally would like have a little bit less value to the like the Javantes of the world and things like that. Have you found a couple running backs that you would normally be completely out on that in this format have? This is the only format you'll draft them, but it's almost hard to pick them because of this.
I'm actually a lot lower on running backs considering the rules, but I still would probably put Alvin Kamara higher than I already have him. I think a lot of people are in regular fantasy football leagues are way too low on Alvin Kamara, and I think they need to stop acting like he sucks and get some more Alvin Kamara. Like, I'm going to pick Derrick Henry. Same with Derrick Henry. People are too low on Derrick Henry still. Just because these running backs are older doesn't mean they suck. Take them.
Yeah, and I think in the early rounds too, do you have have you organized any sort of tiers or anything for you? Is there based on what we've seen drafted off the board so far, is there a big tier break between wide receiver and running back where you're really targeting a falling value up until a certain point and then you're pivoting? Is there a guy or two that are kind of on the cliff for you?
Nothing that comes to the top of my head, but what I will say that has been discussed in a circle in which I'm subscribed to, Ladd McConkey is being overvalued right now. And I think what happened is that a lot of these dynasty fanatics and degenerates got too excited about his overachieving rookie year, and they're letting their excitement get the best of them, and they're taking him over guys like Garrett Wilson and A.J. Brown, and I'm not ready to put Ladd McConkey that high yet. He's still young. This Harbaugh offense is still new for the Chargers. I don't think McConkey I think being a top 10 wide receiver isn't out of the question for McConkey, but I don't think this is going to be the year he does it.
Yeah, I feel like Ladd is such a name that's fun, but the biggest thing I'm looking at with him, I keep having this massive pro Hampton take where I just feel like Hampton is going to take up such a large percentage of that offense that I just don't see. And I think their defense is good enough that I don't see how. You remember how A.J. Brown for the Eagles really disappeared in a lot of second halves because he was just not needed.
Yeah.
Devonta Smith to a lesser extent. And you're on the field, they looked great in the first half and they were having a beer by the end of the game. I think the Chargers could be good enough that Ladd may suffer from the, dude, just take a break. Let's go see if Quentin Johnston can maybe catch a pass. Let's give him a shot. I do worry that they're too good to draft a wide receiver on the team as high as Ladd's going.
I don't think the pass catchers are going to have that hard of a time in a Jim Harbaugh offense because, especially the tight end, and Tyler Conklin is a sleeper tight end that I'm going to be recommending as the season goes on because when Jim Harbaugh was the head coach of the 49ers, he made Vernon Davis look like $1 million in that offense, even with multiple quarterbacks. So I think his offense supports the tight end very well, and I will definitely be buying Tyler Conklin as a flyer tight end too, if in 2 tight end leagues or even tight end premium leagues.
Yeah, I like that. I think he's extremely slept on. That's actually one of my sleepers in this format that I like quite a bit. There does seem to be a lot of this is giving away a lot of my strategy, but the later round tight ends, as I kind of looked at the ADP a little bit compared to what else is out there, it does make me shy away from the earlier round tight ends, but I might be waiting until the double digit rounds for him. And he's just so slept on. He was perennially kind of like the waiver tight end in redraft last year. Did extremely well. I'll throw in Hunter Henry's name as a similar, I think, slept on name for the Patriots a little bit. Real red zone animal. You like him at all?
Hunter Henry, I could see as being the second in targets on the Patriots. Drake May definitely likes throwing to him. He's a good safety blanket. He's got a good set of hands. I don't think he's anywhere near the best pass catching tight end in the league, but if you need a safety blanket, he's your guy. And now that Stephon Diggs is there, that's going to be an easy veteran presence for Drake May to get better at quarterback in his second year. A lot of people, especially in fantasy circles, are way too harsh on young quarterbacks. It's just like young tight ends. You really got to give them 2 full seasons in order to see what they really have to offer in the NFL, and then judge them by their 3rd season. It's just such a tough position to play at a professional level because it ain't college, right? These aren't college defenses that they have to overcome. So, yeah, I think Hunter Henry is going to do just fine in that offense, and I think Drake May is going to get a little better. I don't know if Drake May is going to be a top 15 quarterback, but I think he's going to do well enough.
I like it. Hey, I'm going to refresh this draft just real quick because I don't think it resynced right. There we go.
Oh, yeah.
I kept looking at Gibbs as my pick, and I was really enjoying that for a minute there, but not accurate. Here we go. Sorry, guys. That was like really throwing me off there. I got like 3 drafts up on the screen, and none of them agreed with each other. Oh, sleeper. I
would say that Omarion Hampton, I don't think is going to get the bulk of the carries this year. I think maybe once we get past the bye week and we get into double-digit weeks, Hampton will start to take more carries than Najee Harris. But we have to remember, there's a reason they paid Najee Harris. They need that veteran presence to split with Hampton until he proves that he's capable of more work.
Hey, what's up, Wilson? One of the day one fans. Glad to have you in here. Wilson's gonna be drafting live at the Scott Fish Bowl. Live, not sure live or not live, but drafting at the 12 spot this year. So we'll be paying attention to you and Duarte on the turn there. And Rafi, thank you. Glad to know it's not just us. If anyone else is having some sleeper issues, maybe it's a popular mock draft night. I know. Me and Barely, we were in our Scotfish Live chat. I think there was 3 or 4 going on tonight. We were kind of sharing in the link, so maybe
yeah,
was crazy.
So yeah, and then speaking of the, what was I gonna bring up? So speaking of the live drafts, I will be present at the Chicago live draft with Kendall. So if any of you listening are gonna be at the Chicago live draft, I'll be better for my cold by then.
Yeah, I hope so. I was doing the same thing. I'm like, all right, kids, we're going to go outside a little bit less. We're definitely not going to the zoo or the park a week before Scott Fish Bowl. Please try and keep me healthy, man. I'd like to enjoy an open bar just one time, man. Should be a good one. But any of the folks that are hanging out in Chicago too, as well, I'm taking the train in pretty early. Would definitely love to do a couple little live segments, maybe a little talk to some folks in the street type of a thing. So let us know if you're going to be in town in the area, not drafting. We'd love to hang for a little bit.
Kendall, if I'm not mistaken, you're in Indiana. Am I correct?
I am. I live about 10-15 minutes outside of Notre Dame. So
nice.
Here in the South Bend, Indiana area.
One of my best friends from high school actually just finished his PhD at Notre Dame, and I visited him about 2.5 years ago. I went to that snowy Boston College Notre Dame game back in 2022.
Oh, man. That was a banger, man.
Right?
Oh, love it. Love it, man. If you're ever up here for a game, that would be awesome. I'm quite fortunate enough to work with Notre Dame from time to time. And yeah, just such a great campus. One of the best things whenever someone's coming into town, I always recommend, like, you got to take out just a walk through campus. It's one of the better places you can spend part of your day.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I sometimes wish I had selected Notre Dame for my university, but I used to be a Division II walk-on cross country and track guy. I didn't try for D1 at that point, but which Mike are we giving the love from Devi Royale?
It's Classic Mike, one of our founders. He's got a little bit of life going on right now, as I know many of us do. But he's had it a little bit hard lately, but also just absolutely holds it down for me in the group. He was really the guy that kind of gave me my first shot. Him and one of our other founders, Anthony, aka Rasta. So they kind of took me from league crusher to, hey, let's see if we can give this live stream a thing. So a lot of love for those guys. He can't be on tonight, but he's on with us for all the Friday night mocks, and I'm not sure if he'll be on tomorrow there, Devi, but 50-50. We'll see. But within a couple weeks, when we get back into the swing of things, normally we'll definitely have Mike for sure. And it'll be a lot more smoother of a process since he is so much better at running the stream than I am. So there's always that too.
So we're starting to see a little more tight ends go as TJ Hawkinson and Tyler Warren were just taken by the Skolin NH. I don't know who that is.
So he's drafting Skolin. So Skolin's someone from our crowd for sure in the mock draft streets all the time. I forget which live Skolin's doing, but he's definitely he's a live drafter. He got his spot for sure. So looks like someone wants to go a little tight end heavy. I know Warren's become kind of a popular pick with the Danny Dimes over A-Rich kind of happened. Has Warren moved up your boards quite a bit, or what are you thinking about him?
I'm not committed to putting Tyler Warren at a specific spot yet. Tyler Warren is somebody that I think is obviously very talented, but I just don't think it's going to be enough for this Indianapolis Colts offense. I do not like Shane Steichen. I do not like this toxic Colts team that we've heard so much about. Well, I mean, when you've got Pat McAfee talking about how the team culture is so bad where players are showing up late to meetings, they're falling asleep in meetings, they're not practicing the way that they should, and Steichen is not even holding them accountable for it, you got more problems than what your play on the field can solve. And there's a reason that they did as badly as they did last year. This is not a solid group, and I just don't think that Tyler Warren by himself is going to be able to overcome that, whether it's Danny Dimes or Anthony Richardson playing quarterback.
Yeah, part of me kind of thinks that Warren being just a good all-around player and a pretty solid blocker too probably helps Jonathan Taylor a little bit. I think I don't know. There's a weird. I think there's a world where they're just good enough where JT has an unreal season because he's the only bright spot on the team, and they just have to make that work somehow. But yeah, not the most fun offense to talk about. Hey, any picks that you're really loving? We haven't been talking about the board so much. Any picks in the last couple rounds really standing out to you, folks, that you're like, ooh, I wished I'd taken, and we're kind of on your favorites board for this format?
I'm gonna pick my pick first, and then I will get right back to you on that. But I'm going to go Mark Andrews here because even though the Ravens don't throw him the ball enough, and I think that he was playing through a lot of injuries last year, Lamar Jackson had a career year, and I don't think that's going away. I think Lamar Jackson is here to stay. I think he's going to come close to repeating that again next year. This coming year, I mean. And hey, maybe even next year too. But I think a lot of people are still too low on Lamar Jackson, and they need to stop calling him a running back because he can do more than just run.
Yeah, you think there's something to the narrative that, there was that injury in the preseason for Andrews, and it just kind of derailed a lot of the normal, off-season, preseason situation for him. Do you think with that removed, and I'll let you make your pick here, doubling up, I like it. I like the kind of pseudo stack there. Very nice. Do you think that had a huge part to play in his season last year?
Oh, definitely. I think that's a good reason why it was a bit of a struggle. But at the same time, the tight ends were also both Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews both had to block a lot more because Derrick Henry was just so unstoppable and dominant. And then when you have Lamar Jackson, also an elite rusher, able to run the football, you don't really need to throw a lot. But if I'm not mistaken, Lamar Jackson threw how many times last season? Let's count it up right here. He threw 474 times, which is a career high. That's not a lot compared to the other elite quarterbacks, but his completion percentage was high. He threw for over 4,000 yards finally. He threw 41 touchdowns, and he only threw 4 interceptions. You heard that right, folks. 4 interceptions, that's it. Otherwise, he's got great ball security. He only lost half of his 10 fumbles last year, too. That's just going to happen when you take off with the football.
You're not wrong about that for sure. Hey, quick. Okay, what do you think here? Give me a Pittsburgh backfield take. I'm doing a tournament lineup draft here where I'm definitely taking a lot of spicy picks. I'm either going first or last. That's definitely kind of the theme of what I'm having here. I keep having this creeping feeling that Caleb Johnson will start off slower, but that he just is a significantly better running back than what they have there. And I think by the end of like week 6, 7 or post bye week, I see him as a 20 plus carry, like new Le'Veon Bell. And I think he's getting a little bit slept on because the RJ Harvey stuff in rookie drafts just kind of dominated that section of the draft. What are you thinking about Caleb in particular?
So Caleb Johnson, Omarion Hampton, and Travion Henderson are my 3 running backs that I think are just going to be eased into the NFL. I think they're going to be splitting the backfield with their respective teammates. You know, Henderson with Ramondre Stevenson, Caleb Johnson with what's his face? Who's the other Steelers running back?
Wow, I'm actually kind of blanking on that too myself right now. I'm like about to check a depth chart here, man. To me, it's just Warren and Johnson for me right now. But
yeah,
you have to look that up right now, man. It's kind of interesting.
Well, in any case, I think they're all going to be splitting their backfields until they can prove that they can handle more workload. The only two rookie running backs I believe are going to be bell cows right away are Ashton Genty and Quinshawn Judkins. And until I see otherwise, that's what I have going for right now.
Yeah, I'm kind of there. I think Judkins is getting slept on in the dynasty community a little bit.
I agree.
Yeah, I keep thinking for this format, with the volume is king thing, I keep thinking that he needs to rise up the boards a little bit. In the last stream that I did, I kind of just really went ham on, I think he just needs to be in the 4th round. I keep thinking maybe the 3rd round, so we'll see. Got to make a pick here. I kind of hate the wide receivers here a lot. I don't believe in Jonnu Smith. We're going to do some reaching, boys. I think we might do some reaching here.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, this is criminally underrated though. Yeah, I think Njoku is one of my most underrated tight ends right now. I don't know. What do you think about Njoku? Anything worrying you there, or you like him?
Well, the Browns suck. That's what makes me worry about him. I like Njoku, the talent, in an old dynasty league, actually. In the 2017 season, I drafted Evan Ingram in the 1st round of my rookie draft, and then David Njoku in the 2nd because I ran out of tight ends. Julius Thomas retired, so I needed tight ends. It took Njoku a little while to have some good seasons, but I got 2nd place in 2018 because of those draft picks. The 2017 season, I'm sorry. It was the beginning of 2018. But that's what carried me. So I'm going to go... I'm going to go Jalen Waddle here as a sleeper pick, just in case Tyreek gets traded. But
love it.
Anyway, I like David Njoku, but I just have no confidence in that Browns offense. I don't care who's their starting quarterback. Whatever it is, it's going to be another stinker season for the Browns. It would not surprise me if they go 3-14 again.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that. Njoku for me is a little, I think, boom bust. The reason I've been in on him is not a consistency play, but for tournament centric type of lineups like this one is. I like to go after tight ends that have a chance to be the number 1 or number 2 pass catcher, and just through sheer volume and identity of the offense, bad teams lose games. That means 4th quarter pass-a-thons can kind of happen. I just see him as a guy that. Judy is okay, and I think we've kind of anointed Judy as a target on that offense this year, and I don't think that's a mistake by any means, but I just want to shade some of my shares of Judy away and grab some Njoku, because much like I was saying about CeeDee Lamb last year, it didn't happen, but I guess it kind of did to some extent. If CeeDee Lamb went down, what would Dak be? That's why I was off of Dak last year in particular. For me, if anything happens, who can you trust in that offense? I think Njoku has the chance to be just like a better version of what we saw from Evan Ingram at times in his career, where he was really just going full target hog. So I don't think it's a lot. I think there's a lot of chances where Njoku is just 7 targets a game and for 5 catches for 60 yards because the offense truly is terrible. We'll have to see.
Well, that's
a quick bet here.
Yeah, and that's about what he averages under regular circumstances. But then toward the end of the season, when famous Jameis became the quarterback, he's getting 17 targets, 13 targets, 10 targets. Like, it was insane how many times Winston threw him the football, because who the heck else were they going to throw the football to, right? Like, Jerry Jeudy's not enough. And then they have Cedric Tillman, who I think is going to be the next Travis Fulgham. He's going to be forgotten about, and then he's just going to disappear. But the fact that the Browns got Deontay Johnson is a solid underrated pick, because Deontay Johnson had a lot of crazy personal problems last year that led to him being released by the Ravens, released by the Texans, or traded back to the Ravens, I should say. And then the Ravens just let him walk in free agency. They didn't elect to pick him back up. So, yeah, I think that's a good pickup. But being that he's a Cleveland Brown, I think their passing offense is going to be near dead last again in the league. I'm sorry to anybody who's a Shadur Sanders truther. Just kidding, I'm not. That's not going to be good.
What do you think about Dylan Sampson as a later pick? So if you clearly see the offense is poor, but at that point in time, you just want to get new people involved. I think the team is going to be poor, but I think the way they win is kind of how the Steelers have done so for 2 or 3 seasons, where it's keep the pace of play to just dead last in the NFL, keep the game close, because that's the goal here is maybe we can create a little chaos in the fourth quarter somehow if it's a 1-possession game. I think Sampson for me is one that I'm starting to rise. He was already a guy I liked in the pre-draft process, but I'm starting to think that if he is as good as I think he was in college and could be, is there a it's not quite a Gibbs Montgomery comp, but when it was Kamara and Ingram, I liked that combination a lot. Is there a little bit of ice and fire that could come out of that backfield? Maybe not this year, but in some bright spots looking ahead.
Well, Dylan Sampson I see as a solid change of pace running back that can catch the football. But as I'm looking in training camp, Quinshawn Judkins is looking pretty good with his hands on the football. But we also have to remember that this is training camp we're talking about here. This isn't the real thing yet. Let's see him actually catch the football against real NFL defenses. But their GM, Andrew Berry, said that they believe that Quinshawn Judkins can take a bell cow workload. I think they want to feed him the rock, and there's a reason they took him in the second. Where in the third round, a third round running back is not a slouch by any means, but he's not Quinshawn Judkins. Dylan Sampson, I think, could easily succeed if he was drafted on any other team, but I wouldn't go reaching for Dylan Sampson. Ever since they let go of Nick Chubb, they needed to stock up on better running backs because you can only ride Jerome Ford for so long.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that. This is more of the. I guess this is the type of conversation I would have in the best ball bros, sort of like, hey, let's get crazy and be contrarian type of pick. But I'm trying to, in my practice, I'm trying to push some of the weirder builds and angles just to kind of see here. And here, I'm going to take a shot on Cam Scattaboo, someone that just in case they take over all of the work. I forget who put it out today. There was somebody who put it out. They just gave all of Tracy's stats were just like 5% under league average. And he's a guy I didn't love in the scouting process that much, but I do see kind of a world where, look, if he's just straight up better than Tracy in a lot of aspects of the game, especially the parts they need to rely on the most, I think he's rising up my boards a little bit as someone who could have he could be closer to James Conner than I was giving him credit for. You in on Scat, or do you think he's just too slow to be an NFL player?
I don't think speed is everything when it comes to being a running back. I think patience, pursuit of open holes in the offensive line, and you don't have to be the home run hitter just to be a good running back. So I think that's going to be to Scattaboo's advantage if he has that IQ. But it's too early. I don't know if he's going to be better than Tyrone Tracy. But if he is, I think they just, at the very worst, I think they just needed somebody better than Devin Singletary to take the second back. Because no disrespect to Devin Singletary, but he's just not good. I say that based on his play rather than just making it personal. Let's go with Buka. Can't decide here.
I love that pick. I love that pick. And you're going to be on the turn here, so I'll chat a little bit while you make yours. But I'll be very curious to hear what you're thinking about Egbuka. He was someone I was considering. Actually, it was between Scattaboo and Egbuka. For me, I'm really starting to get steamed up that 2 injured guys ahead of him. And honestly, at this point in all of their careers, I think there's a chance that Egbuka might be the best wide receiver on that team where he's at in his NFL career today.
I'm not ready to go to sleep on Mike Evans. Mike Evans is not going to quit until he has to be carted off that field. I mean, between all the knee and ankle and whatever other injuries he's had, I'm not ready to count out Mike Evans. He's just this generation's Jerry Rice.
I think that's fair. I think because it's one of those things. His physicality and his red zone usage. Evans. I think in the middle of the field, random stuff. I think there's enough players that can get him there. Where Evan, I think he really could be the guy that's just like averaging a touchdown a game, really making it happen. I don't think he's the right player for this format, but yeah, I've sold him in Dynasty, but in redraft, I think Mike Evans is going to be one of my most drafted players as a guy that's going to go several rounds too late, like he was a couple years ago when we forgot him for a little bit.
Yeah, and then Chris Godwin is still there too, and they're not ready to give up on him either. I think there were, if I'm not mistaken, there were some trade rumors surrounding Godwin, but being injured doesn't exactly help you get moved either. But Chris Godwin is getting up there in age. Mike Evans still doesn't lose a lot of talent with age. What is Godwin? He's 29. He's got 8 seasons under his belt. He's coming off that ankle injury. Yeah, I think the Buccaneers know that it's time to get another stud wide receiver in this draft. Another Ohio State wide receiver, so I like it. I like that potential because, Ohio State's wide receivers don't tend to suck in the NFL, but we'll just have to see how well he does in this great system because Mike Evans is the type of wide receiver to make any quarterback look good. He made famous Jameis look elite, and he's helping Baker Mayfield get his career back. We saw what the Browns did to him.
Got a point there. We got the last one of the last tiers of tight ends starting to come off the board. Ferguson, Goddard, Freiermuth, Henry, little run here. Tajay Spears, love to hear a take on the Tennessee backfield from you. I'm starting to be a little more opinionated here, and I'll say this: I think one of the best picks in the entire draft right so far was Pollard at the 6'3", one of the most volume running backs I think we're going to see this year that we're sleeping on a little bit. How do you see the Tennessee backfield?
I don't want anything to do with this Titans backfield. I think it's going to be a really, really terrible committee. Am I allowed to say swear words?
Oh yeah. We clicked the not for kids button, so grab a beer, let's go.
I think for lack of a better way to put it, it's going to be a shitty committee. I think it's going to be between Pollard, Spears, and then I think Khalil Mullings will get his shot. He just had core surgery, so we'll see if he's ready for the season. He's a 6th-round pick. They don't have a lot to lose with him, so but I don't want anything to do with the Titans offense. I'll probably grab Calvin Ridley if I get a nice discount on him. But other than that, I don't want anything to do with anybody on that Titans team. They're going to be just like the Browns. They're going to be near the bottom of the AFC for years to come. It's going to be ugly.
Interesting. So are we fully off Cam Ward? Where do you see him in like a 3-year window? Like in terms of quarterback blank in 2 to 3 years.
So that's what I can't fully decide on right now because I like the talent in Cam Ward, but his landing spot is so tragic. I think the Titans are going to ruin him. He's got barely any quality weapons to throw to where Calvin Ridley is just not going to be enough. And what's going to hurt him, too, is that the offensive line stinks. The pass catchers are underwhelming. Like, I mean, is Chico Okonkwo really going to be your safety blanket for tight end? Sorry, man. I feel bad for Cam Ward, and I think that he's going to have a really rough go in the NFL. I don't want the Titans to ruin this poor young man, but that's where I think he's going in a really terrible rookie quarterback class where I don't want any of these rookie quarterbacks.
Yeah, might be doomed to repeat his predecessor. I hope he's of a different pedigree, but for that organization, I hope he does a little bit better. I think the Titans have historically always been a pretty well-run organization. Never made too many moves. I thought they deserved something terrible to happen, and I remember I kind of like the Vince Young days and that kind of a thing. But I'm gonna make a pick here real quick. Untitled, definitely for the record, did not make the Ayuk pick, and want to make sure everyone knows. That's not what we're on. Sleeper's being a little crazy tonight, so but hey, maybe it's the pick that hits. What do I want to do here? I got to start to reach down the board a little bit here. This is definitely a spot for me where I'm starting to reach a lot, where Sleeper's rankings are just really, really nasty, and everyone I want to take is like 40 picks down on ADP. And sorry, guys in the chat, we're trying to try to get to you as much as you can. I know we're a little try hard on this draft. I think we're pretty into it with our draft coming up here in about 2 weeks. So I know I found myself when I'm doing these just not paying as much attention to the entertainment part of things as the draft prep.
The other thing I'll say too about the Tennessee Titans is that they committed an unforgivable sin by trading AJ Brown.
Where do you think AJ Brown could go? Do you have a couple spots picked out for him? I mean, besides that,
well, they traded AJ Brown to the Eagles, and then they tried drafting Treylon Burks to replace him, and then Treylon Burks turned out to be nothing.
Oh, I misheard you. I'm so sorry. I'm like, what? I thought we were switching to an AJ Brown here. My apologies. Thought the draft was trading out a little bit. You know what? That was crazy. That was absolutely. You know what? You're right. I've given Tennessee way too much credit, and I've almost forgot that they pulled off that ridiculous move. Yeah, and I think all of us actually, when it happened too, were like, why are you drafting this player too? Like, of all people, I don't understand how you see the replay. It's one thing if it's like, okay, I'll forgive you for trading AJ Brown, but I mean, come on, man, what are we doing? That was a head scratcher.
Well, they clearly didn't know what they were doing either, and as a result, that's why I don't see them getting out of the bottom of AFC hell for years to come. They're going to be down there with the Browns, and then the New York Giants, I also have as the worst NFC team, but they have a lot to prove to me. Their defense has shown some strong potential of saving them, but with the offense that they have now, I need to see what it looks like now with Russell Wilson, with Jameis Winston. Does Jackson Dart get any first team reps this year? I would sincerely hope they let him sit this year, but I don't think those three teams are going to be good again. I think they're going to be all fighting for last place.
Yeah, I mean, it could be kind of an interesting tank bowl, right? Do you think this might be one of those seasons where the disparity is pretty crazy, where the good teams are really good and the bad teams are really bad, and it kind of creates this, we're almost more interested on a Sunday in the tank bowl games as we are the playoff games, because the implications are just kind of interesting, and there'll be all sorts of weird fantasy stuff late in the season where some teams are so bad that you got to start looking at the rookies a little bit sooner on some of the waiver wire, because the teams are done. Speaking of the Giants, we'll go ahead and grab their little PPR wonderkind.
Yeah, and Wan'Dale Robinson is an example of why I don't have a lot of faith in the Giants, because if Wan'Dale is your second wide receiver, you're in trouble. I mean, I liked him coming out of college, but with the injuries that he's had and how misused he's been in this offense, and with finally Malik Neighbors showing why he's the true number one target getter, they just don't have a strong number two. I think that's what's badly needed for the New York Giants, but then again, they kind of need a better coach than Brian freaking Dable. You know, the same guy who treated Danny Dimes so badly that I wouldn't want to be Jackson Dart. Speaking of which, FLGRJ just took him.
Yeah, he just spoke that one to an existence, man.
I manifested that.
What are you thinking here right now? Going with, Sam Darnold's thief in the night. I went to my queue actually to go grab him, just thinking that he felt like a pretty decent dart throw upside over here, pun intended.
Yeah. So, Sam Darnold, I really like as a late third quarterback. I think some people are being too unfair to Sam Darnold, predicting that he's going to get hurt in a couple of games, which I wholeheartedly disagree with trying to predict injuries, because you just can't. But I don't think that Jalen Milroe is going to take any snaps unless the injuries actually do happen. But even then, like, trying to guess on injuries is just not a good idea in fantasy football.
Looks like while you're making their pick there, we've got Aiden Max saying the Giants are a little bit underrated potentially. QB could be stable and fine in 25. You know, Dart in the backup, and Neighbors plus a good O-line or some better O-line pieces. I'll agree with you. Definitely a pretty sneaky good D-line. Are there callbacks to the Commanders of last year?
I don't fully agree with their OL pieces, because that's what they thought they had in Evan Neal, and look what he turned out to be. Trash. Making all the Evans in the world look bad. Come on, man. You got to do better for our namesake.
Kind of with you. I mean, for the sake of old Classic, by the way, Classic Mike in the chat. So if Devi's still hanging around, Classic's in the chat, man. Let's clink a couple glasses, hang out with our boy. And yeah, you know, Classic. I draft Wan'Dale everywhere just so I can trade him to you for like 10% extra value. You know, that's the play here.
So so Mike brought up the 140 targets that he got. He caught 93 of them, which is not that good. But do you know how much? You know what his yards per target was? 4.99. He barely would get anywhere after getting the catch. Which, look, there's nothing wrong with being like a possession receiver, but that's not good fantasy value. I mean, sure, you're happy about PPR points when they come, but you need the yardage afterwards to make it count. And he only had 3 touchdowns last year. He does not get red zone value. Great, you know, I'm not saying predict touchdowns. I'm just saying look at red zone targets. But yeah, I don't have a lot of faith in Wan'Dale anything more than like a wide receiver 3 if you're desperate.
It's like a brain burst. I like it, buddy. 3rd year in Scott Fishbowl. Looks like we got a number cruncher over here. My my kind of person over here. Applied the scoring for the last couple of years and determined that the rushing quarterbacks are a tad bit overvalued in mocks currently. He's listing bell cow RBs 1, followed by Bowers right in the tier of his own. Bowers, McBride, triple crown potential as far as the receivers go right after that. And then just kind of generally, rushing quarterbacks aren't bad picks, but not the best picks to be made specifically in round 1. What do you think? Have you done some number crunching on the format? What are you thinking about? He's starting running quarterbacks, particularly, are maybe vaulting a little bit too high in this format historically.
Yeah, I think Brainburst brings up some good points that can also apply to your typical Superflex leagues. Because in Superflex, obviously, everybody overvalues the quarterback. Excuse me. I don't think there's a lot of value to drafting quarterbacks way too high than they need to go, where, I mean, in a format like this, I'm probably not going to target Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, or Jaden Daniels in the first few picks. Not that I can anyway, because I've got the 11th pick in my draft anyway, but I'm just saying I don't think you need to do that per se. You can wait on quarterback. Because overvaluing the quarterback can usually lead to you missing out on some amazing skill players that are going to get you more consistent points while they're healthy. Where quarterbacks, bad games can happen and they can really screw you over if you're not careful. Now, I'm not saying that those first 3 quarterbacks suck, but that kind of leads into a can of worms that I'm not going to get into right now. I hate Superflex.
It does seem to be a bit of a frustrating format sometimes. I go back and forth a little bit. Looks like Brainburst here with a little more. So the triple crown of CMC Bijan and that ultra high-end tier 1 caliber that were, every single individual pick in the first round seems to be, a pretty crippling drop-off after this. Puts them about 687-10 in projections. And has the rushing quarterbacks with 40 passing touchdowns as a comp, which is obviously pretty aggressive, has them at 640. So yeah, looks like the math is pretty clearly favoring those guys in their projections. Interesting. Have you ever been an earlier quarterback guy in any? Well, I'll let you make your pick first, but
yeah, no problem. I'm gonna take Xavier Legette. Earlier quarterbacks. I'll let you finish that question just in case you wanted to.
Is there ever? I feel like when you get into like the upper reaches of Dynasty, it's really trendy. You can't be the early quarterback person because it's not trendy. It's not cool. How can you nail the quarterback if you don't draft a late one? And I don't think it was until really Jalen Hurts fully coming on the scene, and then best ball in particular, the advance rates were pretty on. You either had to nail hyper late, or it was just really, really chalky to be able to take them when they were in like the 4th and sometimes 5th rounds. And the next year in best ball, I think in 2024, all of a sudden Allen in the 2nd, those things started happening. It became trendy again to get back onto the rushing quarterback wagon and the ultra double elite quarterback in Superflex. I've always been a late quarterback guy in general, just for the fun of it, and I want to go after all the value that I can. How do you play your traditional leagues if you're drafting at like a dynasty startup? Since I know our crowd's pretty heavy dynasty, are you late at quarterback? Who do you kind of like in the dynasty landscape right now in general at that PB position?
Are we just talking about just your typical redraft leagues?
Let's go dynasty here, because I know right now we're still kind of in dynasty mode, and we got our Scott Fish folks here, but it's kind of an interesting one since I think there's enough interesting injection of talent into the quarterback position. There's this big tier of aging out, a decent tier of young talent, and I've seen it at least in the best ball streets where I think there's like the early quarterbacks and this big, massive tier of I'm not taking it for a long, long time. I'm just seeing it as a high leverage position this year where some folks want to wait super late. Some folks want to go early, something to figure out in a draft beforehand. Just trying to get your general thoughts on the position based on, some names you like and dislike.
I think that's gonna. I think the short answer to that is that it depends. Like, I don't know if we're talking super flex. Are we talking one quarterback? Are we talking about a startup? But yeah, if it's super flex, obviously that bumps up their ADP, and there's going to be a lot of people grabbing quarterbacks early. But I haven't done a dynasty startup in quite a few years, so I'm not as tempted to reach on quarterbacks, because when you start to overvalue them, like I said earlier, you're just going to miss out on a lot of solid picks. at the other skill positions like running back, wide receiver, and tight end. And those are always going to be more important than the quarterback. To me, Superflex has always just been this goofy, hastily crafted format where they're trying to solve the problem of not having too many quarterback points on the bench or on the waiver wire. But if that's the case, either lower the value of quarterbacks or just become just a 2-quarterback league. Like, you don't have to have an optional 2-quarterback second quarterback slot if, I just never liked it.
I love that take, actually. I'm just glad you're talking about it in general. That's it's really interesting to me. So you're definitely more on the 2 quarterbacks or 1 quarterback, but the super flex, kind of like an unnecessary concession to, hey, we just don't have it figured out, and what the optimal thing we're trying to do here is. I like that a lot. I think for the sake of, if we spend a little more time crafting it out, one or the other is probably clearly better for what they're going for in a particular league. I like that a lot.
And I get the arguments for having Superflex where, people think, hey, the quarterback position is the most important in football. They always have the ball in their hands the most. We now have more rushing quarterbacks where they're going to take off in the red zone and score touchdowns like, Jaden Daniels, Lamar Jackson. Even Geno Smith will take a few from time to time. But even then, I just don't think that's a good reason to overvalue quarterback. There's only 32 of them who are even capable of starting at a time, and the first 20 are usually the ones that are worth starting, and then the remaining 12 are dart throws out of 32. So that's why I don't like it. It's too niche of a position, like kind of like kickers, where you're not gonna want to start every single kicker.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I've been theory crafting some. I think in fantasy football in general, I love the Scott Fish Bowl because I love the idea of the sport that we love, this esport, is still not fully solved in terms of what we can do with the nuance of formats and different scoring formats. And I feel like every year that Scott comes up with something else, and it's a really great time. And it's a consistent reminder that there's even more ways to cook this, so to speak. And I love hanging out in chat, just creating some very, very interesting league ideas. The one of the other ones I cooked up that actually run in a real it's kind of a hometown league type of situation where we still get pen and paper, that type of, we try to get together. You got to get that stuff going on.
I like that.
But so I re-roll the tight ends, so I roll them in it's a dynasty league, so the rookie draft is all of the tight ends go back into the rookie draft. So you don't just draft rookies, you draft rookies and the entire tight end landscape just to shake it up. So Bowers, he goes back to the pool every single year. So Bowers can just be the 101. So it's Bowers or Genty in this year's rookie draft.
So what's the logic behind doing this? Is there just a consensus where we don't value tight end enough and we just put him back in the pile and we give other people a chance to get a good one?
Not necessarily. It's really, honestly, the litmus of it was, guys, does anyone enjoy the tight end position, whether it's TEP or not? And the general consensus was we just didn't really enjoy it. It was kind of either you do really well or you don't. And it was just kind of the small club of people enjoying it and the bigger club of like, we all kind of don't, it's just not our thing, right? So I just wanted to add some entertainment to it. And I feel like year to year, tight end can be a little unpredictable. It's like there's the couple folks that have a good season. And I just thought to myself, well, there's a lot of wasted picks in the 3rd and 4th rounds of most drafts anyways.
Speaking of tight end, look at where Tyler Conklin went in this mock draft compared to guys like Okonkwo, Jatavian Sanders, Luke Musgrave. Luke Musgrave's not even the top tight end on the Packers.
You got a big point there. And honestly, I wanted to get to chat, and so I just made like a decent pick and definitely like fell off try hard mode. But that is such a good point. I mean, I think I think it's an ADP thing where hopefully before Scott Fish Live that gets adjusted a little bit. He's just he's so buried that it's honestly hard to find if you're not fully locked in. One of the better takes I've heard, though. I mean, he's a good player. He's never been a bad player. And it's been pretty not great quarterback play when he's produced well too. I think he might be a very, very good late pick.
I think he's going to be a solid sleeper tight end, like what we were saying at the beginning of the show, because if anything, Justin Herbert does like targeting the tight end when he's got a halfway decent one. I mean, he didn't have Antonio Gates, which is kind of a shame. Could you imagine Justin Herbert to Antonio Gates?
It's hard to imagine for sure, but I mean,
But I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I agree with that consensus in your league that tight ends are not that fun, because usually there's 12 tight ends that average 10 fantasy points per game or more, which is not nothing. You do need to value that much. Because you kind of have the best ball and the DFS mentality where there's a lot of people that just skip tight end because they don't feel there's enough value at tight end in general to make it worth your while. But in regular fantasy football leagues, don't poo-poo 10 fantasy points per game. That's not nothing.
That's very true. The other reason for it, and I love your take on this after the pick is there. One of the bigger things about it was, one, comparing like the tiers of tight ends against the rookies was kind of it ended up being a really fun overlay, because it was like the litmus test is, yeah, we love this player. All right, comparing to Bowers, you still love him? Like, the crazy thing was all the Genty folks had to really be like, yeah, he's supposed to be the next, but Bowers. It led to so many more interesting questions, I guess, where it was like, we're just kind of using tight ends to play some games with the rookies at some point. But the one of the bigger reasons was it felt like tight ends were hard to trade, because it was a weird position of scarcity where the lower tier tight ends still had like a floor of, you couldn't trade them for free because you just kind of needed them. And I want to create something where, kind of like a keeper league, I just want to throw something back into the pot. So every year you have the chance to have something a little bit different in this spot that no one likes. Yes, Aiden. Oh, baby. Yeah.
Good job.
I cannot wait. I can't wait for Scott to have, like, you can draft a coach or you can draft a GM or something in this format. Let's go.
We'd have to go My Fantasy League. And if I'm not mistaken, his crew bought My Fantasy League. So I think we could see I don't want to be the one that's spreading false news, fake news, but if we go full My Fantasy League in the future, I think that could very well be a possibility. Start drafting coaches too.
I would love that as an evolution of the game. I think, like, for the same reason that some leagues like having defense, right? And I think there's maybe a place for it once we figure out the scoring to a separate level. It's weird having a big group versus a player, but I definitely liked, like, the real simple, like, hey, draft a coach. If they win, they get a point. If they lose, they get 0, and have it be such a small, little, tiny modifier, but more of a tiebreaker at the end of the year. There's some fun stuff left in this game. I think we still got some juice to squeeze from fantasy.
I still love defense and special teams units. I mean, even in Dynasty, I'll even like using them as well. It's not fun because it's too hard to gauge on a year-to-year basis, and I think that hurts the egos and the feelings of people trying to analyze that, but I still like it. Maybe I'm just weird and different.
Well, I think we're all a little bit weird and different. If we were weird and different, we would definitely pick probably a different sport to play. Maybe we wouldn't be coming on here all the time. That's for sure. Hey, I want to hop back to the chat a little bit to get your take on a couple questions here. Looks like Rafi, who is always, I think he just lives to mock draft. I love this human being to death. Not a big fan of super flex. Rather have 2 extra flex to make deeper picks.
I agree.
Yeah, Ravi, I like it. I think in the leagues that Phil sets up for us, where he does the 3 wide receiver, 3 flex, and we've even joked about, like, hey, let's do a 4 flex league. The more flexes we add, it just feels like the league keeps getting more and more fun. And yeah, I'm kind of with you. I like that a lot. Aiden's got a question for us. How do you feel about 2 QB league, but 1 QB slot has a scoring multiplier and 1 is highly reduced? So you kind of also have to maybe do like a matchup. If you have a super elite quarterback versus not a good one, that's a thing, but that's spicy. I like that a lot.
Spicy meatball. I would definitely like to try that sometime. I didn't think to add like a multiplier, kind of like what DraftKings has with their crown position, where they give you the 1.5 times multiplier for 1 player as the captain.
Yeah, that could be Aiden. You might be onto something there. We're gonna have to create a room in the Discord where we just come up with new crazy fantasy leagues, and then we'll find some guinea pigs and we'll get crazy with it. Tumultuous, appreciate you. Yeah, he's in Dynasty with me. Try to get QBs to a minimum. Although we almost did a QB deal. I almost bought Sam Darnold from you, if I can remember. We have 2 starters for the first 2 years and lucked into getting Fields as your QB3. How do you feel about Fields as a QB3 right now? That's there's some upside there.
If Justin Fields is your QB3, you are probably going to win your league, because I don't like how many people are trashing Justin Fields as if he's a bad quarterback. And being a New York Jet, I mean, I see where people's logic is going, because the Jets do not look good on paper again this year, but he's got Garrett Wilson to throw to. He's got Breece Hall to back him up as a solid running back. And I don't know who else is going to be catching balls over there, but I don't think the Jets are going to be as bad as people think they are. I mean, granted, I'd be surprised if they won more than 5 games, but they're not going to be the worst team in the league, and you're still going to get solid fantasy points out of them. And Aaron Rodgers finished as the QB15 last year, and the Jets went 5-12. So let's not sleep on Justin Fields here, people.
Yeah, he's really going pretty aggressively high in these Scott Fishbowl drafts. But I'm obviously, I mean, I'm in a weird place with Justin Fields. I will never get the take right on a Bears player. You know this. I mean, do you just not draft any Bears players, current or former, just to avoid the just being perpetually wrong? Or
Well, I can usually never get the Bears players I want, because I play in mostly leagues of other Chicago people who reach on them. So I can never get them when I want them.
you got Chicago leagues that are reaching for the Bears fans. They need more life under their belt. They have not been disappointed nearly enough to keep that going. I feel like I mock a lot of the Bears, and then when I get into a real draft, I just, for my own health, I can't do it. Can't do it anymore.
I like what Brain Burst had to say. I don't know if I'd go as far as to say a top 10 quarterback, because rushing is a cheat code for quarterbacks, but Justin Fields is going to be a solid QB2 all season long. And granted, it's going to depend on the matchup with the Jets, because I could see the Jets having a lot of 3-and-outs with just how weak their offense looks on paper. But that doesn't mean Justin Fields is going to do badly. He could easily go QB15 if his rushing upside is there.
Yeah, I kind of think so too. And I mean, honestly, I think the Jets don't have like a million weapons, but I do think that I don't think Breece is dead. He can do a lot for Fields. I think Mason Dodd, love him and what he's doing with his channel. He had a kind of a pro Justin Fields, more of a pro Breece Hall take, just saying that for a rushing quarterback, he checks down not more than rushing quarterbacks, but as far as rushing quarterbacks go, he doesn't check down that much. And when your first read is Garrett Wilson, who is probably the best wide receiver he's played with. I'm a huge Garrett Wilson truther. That maybe there's some legitimate upside. And you look at some other quarterbacks that, are we really ready to say Bryce Young is like a good quarterback? Like, is Justin Fields better than Bryce Young? I keep coming back to that question and seeing where Bryce Young goes, and thinking maybe it's not over for Fields yet.
Yeah, that's a hard one to say, because there's a lot of nuances behind it, because Fields at least has a chance to succeed with his legs where Bryce Young doesn't. Bryce Young is more of a guy that has to get rid of the football and throw it to somebody, and when you're on the Carolina Panthers, well, let's hope Ted McMillan is that guy, because he really hasn't had anybody outside of like washed up past his prime Adam Thielen. And I don't want to poo-poo Adam Thielen too much. He still has great hands, but he's not in his prime anymore. But they just need more weapons down there in Carolina, but I just don't think they're going to do it for him. Now, to get to Brain Burst's question about Jordan Mason, I don't want anything to do with the Vikings backfield either if I can help it, because Aaron Jones is allegedly going to be in a 1A, 1B system where Jones may be losing some short yardage goal line touches to Jordan Mason, and that's not good for either of their value, because if Jordan Mason doesn't get used more like a lead back, I don't care to take either of them. Like, maybe you could stick one or both of them in flex spots if you're desperate, but it's not looking good for that backfield so far. But we'll have to see when the new training camp news comes out.
Yeah, I think it's a backfield where there's just a lot of range of outcomes, right? I don't have a take on it because I think the range of outcomes is wide enough that that's my take, right? I mean, I feel like an injury could really elevate, one to a status that would make him a smash pick, right? I don't know what happens if they're both healthy and the offense is good, though. That's where I just don't really know. And I think I lean towards you, where the best thing for the team is that they vulture each other, right? The NFL good thing is that they're both bad for fantasy, right? They're both good for the team, but bad for fantasy. And I think the organization is unfortunately pretty well run. And I like Kevin O'Connell. So because I think he'll make the right choice, I think that probably means for fantasy, I like drafting running backs on teams that just make wild decisions. because I want that volatility and I want all the points, and I think they're going to be too smooth about it. So we'll have to see. Our division's getting pretty good these days.
Yeah, it's looking scary because I think a lot of people have said that the AFC North has been good for years to come, but I think the NFC North is going to be taking that away now that we finally got a real coach leading this team. Last year, we didn't even have a real head coach. The coaches did nothing. They didn't even do their jobs last year. A lot of people don't even know that.
Yeah, you got a point there. Hey, while we're going, I'm doing my best. Normally I go like 2 hours, 2.5 hours on this thing, and YouTube hates me for it. I'd like to get at least 1 or 2 views from the algorithm on this thing, especially with such a fine guest in town. Let's break down a couple teams, and then maybe we'll call it for the night. I know both of us are a little under the weather as well, so getting a little sleep back in the night might not be too bad. You want to start with you? Kind of just break down the team. I'd love to hear picks that you really felt good about in post when you're reviewing, picks that maybe you'd go a slightly different way, and just an overall how you felt about the way your team came together, and some spots of high leverage that you think are worth noting.
Yeah, absolutely. I never thought I'd ever say this about Javonte Williams, but I actually really like him at the 11-2, excuse me. Javonte Williams is going to be the lead back. Mike, thank you so much. I agree with you. We should all get together again soon. I like that Javonte Williams is probably going to be the lead back in that Dallas backfield, which means that he's going to get the bulk of the carries, because let's be honest, is he really going to lose anything to Miles Sanders? Unless Jadon Blue turns out to be amazing, he's already starting to see reps at kickoff returner, which that's not necessarily a bad thing, but I don't really like that for running backs. I like that better for wide receivers. So I don't think that anybody in this backfield is going to stand out until they figure out who else they want to draft at running back. So I like Javonte as a late flyer, as like my third running back in this format, because I missed out on a lot of running backs. So people went really heavy on running backs. So yeah, I'm fine with that because it's Ultraflex. Who gives a crap? Just draft the best guys that you think are going to get you good PPR value.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I liked that pick a lot. I still think, in comparison to like what's going on in that range, lot of upside. Like not to pick on Tumultuous there, but for me, like I think Javonte is probably a better version of Najee Harris in a lot of ways. I mean, Najee may be the better team, right?
I don't know if I agree with that. I think Najee is definitely the better running back.
Oh, better talent implicitly, no problem there. It's more about the competition around him. But that could be something interesting. I don't know. I keep having a pro Javonte take year after year, only because I don't think he was as bad as people said last year. I mean, he still got open enough to get the ball, which isn't saying much. I don't think his broken tackle rate was pretty bad. His explosiveness metrics were pretty bad. But I think he did his best, like Leonard Fournette, just do just enough to have a job. And we'll see. Dallas, I think, is a much more explosive offense with less loaded boxes, in my opinion. I'm high on Pickens, so I think he could be the sneaky guy that just does, maybe could he have like a Pollard type season where we were ready to bury Pollard a little bit? Pollard's a much more talented running back, in my opinion, but, could he just outperform his ADP by a little bit? We'll have to see.
Yeah, I don't care about Tony Pollard at this stage in his career after 6 seasons. He had his best days with Dallas. I mean, yeah, he did finish as the RB21 after he got a career-high 260 carries, but the lack of scoring is going to hurt him because the Titans are really bad, and he's not catching as many passes as people want him to. 41 catches out of 57 targets, and he barely got anywhere after the catch. 4.18 yards per target and 5.8 yards per catch. No thank you. He did better in Dallas. I'm out.
I like it. Let's look at some you want to do early picks, later picks. I've got some picks that I loved from your team quite a bit.
Yeah, go for it.
I think Zay Flowers at 7.2. I still think I like him on the field. He's always passed the eye test for me. I mean, he's had some moments here and there, that costly fumble. I get it. He's not a fumbler. It just happened, and maybe gets a little too upset, has some attitude. But the on the field talent, I just don't see how that offense isn't very good forever, and I don't see how Derrick Henry is always going to be the I don't want to die by 10 million cuts all day. Fine, I think they will just let Flowers do his thing, and I still think he's probably getting better. I think it's underrated that he's still young, right? And he has the room to get better. He has the room to grow into a slightly more physical athlete as well. He's learning how to be a savvier NFL player out there. I think there's still room for him to grow a little bit more. I think we're anointing Xavier Worthy as like, hey man, the Chiefs, Worthy, the way he finished the season, it was spicy. I think Flowers has been potentially like, I like Flowers a lot more than Jordan Addison, for instance, but I think they get compared a little bit too much. I don't know. What do you think about Flowers?
I think comparing him to Xavier Worthy is foolish because Xavier Worthy didn't even break 100 targets last year. Out of 17 games, he got 98. Sorry, not sorry, but Xavier Worthy is overrated. And what hurts Xavier Worthy is the fact that he's in a Matt Nagy offense. What do you get with a Matt Nagy offense? Wide receiver flat routes and running back draws. The most uncreative, bland, predictable offenses out there. The guy sucks. I don't understand why Andy Reid likes him so much, because the Chiefs looked notably worse out there to the point that they turned Patrick Mahomes into an expensive game manager. I mean, what the hell is that? Maybe that's why you lost the dang Super Bowl, for crying out loud. But as coming back to Zay Flowers, I really like what their offensive coordinator Todd Monken had to say recently of having a goal of getting him the ball more. Now, Zay Flowers has not yet had a season below 100 targets. He has played in 16 and 17 games. He only missed one game so far in his career. He had 116 targets last year and only caught 74 of them. He had a 1,000-yard season, and he didn't get in the end zone that much, but I really like that Monken wants to get him the ball more. So give me Zay Flowers over Xavier Worthy all dang day.
Yeah, Flowers with just a slightly more elevated target share. A lot of things haven't gone his way, certainly can. I feel like there's not as much room for Andrews to have a great year and Flowers and everybody, but if there's an offense that really could just pack in 40 points a game and would do it unapologetically, I mean, it might be them. I think they're ready to hurt some people. So I liked that one. Waddle, I know you mentioned in case Tyreek gets traded. I think there's a world where, remember his rookie season where he was just a PPR phenom. I think of all the players that you drafted that could benefit from even a slight scheme change and just changing up the way we do things, already maybe looking to move on potentially from Jonnu. I just feel like Flowers or Waddle has all the room to improve without actually becoming a better NFL player, that he just was schemed out in some particular instances. Splits where Tua wasn't in the lineup. I think everyone's heard that take 100 times. I just don't think he is a significantly worse player than he was as a rookie. And people get banged up. I get it. He's going to get banged up with his body type. Nico Collins gets banged up a ton too, though, right? I just, the injury narrative. So love the Waddle pick quite a bit. Love the Ibuka pick. I'll call it record saying I think Ibuka is go trade for him now. I think it's not a next year thing. I think it's the second half of this year. I think some things are going to happen there.
There's a reason they drafted him, and Jalen McMillan is not going to be a thing. Sorry, not sorry, folks. Get yourself off of Jalen McMillan. It's Ibuka.
You think McMillan will probably have a nice career somewhere else, though, potentially? I mean, he seems to me like someone who could get traded at some point. Like tell me the Pittsburgh Steelers wouldn't desperately need a Jalen McMillan right now, where he's just in a wrong situation for the team. But, it's not, maybe we don't hate Jalen McMillan, the player, but I mean, his fantasy situation is dire.
That would require the Pittsburgh Steelers management to be smart. And the problem with the Steelers management is that they are not smart. They traded George Pickens for just chump change in draft picks. They don't know how to hold on to offensive talent. They don't even know offensive talent when they see it. They think Arthur freaking Smith is an offensive genius, for crying out loud. And I don't know why Mike Tomlin puts up with it, but this is going to be a team that's going to be hovering close to 500 again because Tomlin is such a dang good head coach. So this Steelers team is overachieving. They've been overachieving for years. It's still built for guys like Ben Roethlisberger and Neil freaking Donald, for crying out loud. So I don't think this offense I don't know if it would be a fit for a guy like a Jalen McMillan, but I just don't think the organization is smart enough to go get a guy like him.
Yeah, fair point. I was kind of looking. I just know he's too young to be traded at this point, especially with injuries ahead of him. But when I was looking at the potential landing spots for Keenan Allen and Amari Cooper, still, I just kept thinking that McMillan just would be the answer, a much better answer for anybody in that particular position. I think that the Arizona Cardinals would love a Jalen McMillan. I think the 49ers, to potentially get out of a situation there, got multiple injuries. I honestly, I think they'd be a decent target for him at some point. So in the dynasty streets, I'm looking at McMillan as like like a 2-year from now, buy low if you can get him for free and just hold him for a long time. I think his second contract is on a different team, and that's when his career maybe resurrects.
Yeah, the 49ers would have to do a little more work with that as well, because the way the 49ers draft, I don't like what I don't like a lot of their draft picks. They don't always make bad draft picks, but when you're drafting a guy like a Tyrion Davis Price, it's like you're just losing the plot at that point. You're drafting a late round, third or fourth round running back every single year, and none of them ever hit. You had to go trade for Christian McCaffrey just to make it work. And then they're missing out on Elijah Mitchell and Jordan Mason, which is a shame because they both got hurt. But right now, I think they're going to be trying Ricky Pearsall because they spent a first-round draft pick on the guy. Juwan Jennings is a guy that's getting a lot of hype as the wide receiver one, but I think it's going to be more of the George Kittle show.
Yeah. Well, I am with you on that. Just for good TV, man, when George Kittle's having a good, they're just so much more watchable when Kittle's having a good time doing his thing, man. And we try hard during the offseason, but I tell you, on a Sunday, I want to grab a beer and just enjoy watching football again and not look at my lineups for 5 seconds. I love me some George Kittle. I just love players that make football look fun again. I can really appreciate that for sure. Let's get some lightning round stuff. Later round picks. You want to give a sentence or two on just, something that a blind spot. There's a reason you took them. That's maybe a less popular take. A reason you're looking at them that just might get someone who's trying to mix up their later round exposure in this. They want to, they zig and zag a little bit. You want to talk through a couple of those late picks and what you liked?
Yeah, so all the wide receivers that I picked between Luther Burden, Xavier Legette, DeAndre Hopkins, Roman Wilson, and Deontay Johnson. The Roman Wilson one was more of a dart throw because there's just no solid wide receiver 2 right now, and I'm having a really hard time believing that it's going to be Robert Goddang Woods.
Bobby Trees, baby.
Bobby Trees, yeah, I don't want to depend on Bobby Trees as a wide receiver 2. He's probably going to start the season that way, but I'm just willing to take a dart throw on a guy like Roman Wilson. But like I was saying at the beginning of the show, I like taking a chance on a guy like a Deontay Johnson because Cleveland needs more hands to catch that football. And if it ends up being Shadur Sanders as the starting quarterback, he's going to need all the help he can get. DeAndre Hopkins, I like as a solid veteran presence. I think he could potentially be the wide receiver 2 ahead of Rashad Bateman. Yes, I know they paid Bateman recently, but no, I'm a Bateman hater. I'm out on him. I don't care what people think of him. I think Hopkins is going to steal more targets away from Bateman. Xavier Legette, I don't think is going anywhere as the wide receiver 2, assuming that Ted McMillan works out. So Luther Burden is going to be a solid, he was one of our second round picks this year. I like this young man a lot, and I think he's going to be a guy that steps up when we squeeze the last ounce of prime out of DJ Moore before we move on, because I think this is just going to be a guy that's built for an offense like Ben Johnson. He needs more wide receivers catching the ball.
Yeah. Oh, I love me. I love me a Luther Burden Caleb stack in that outcome where a DJ Moore injury happens and Burden just has to get on the field a bunch and the offense goes just in weird directions, but it's crazy. Yeah, Burden, love him.
I've said this on many other podcasts, but you're looking at a big Luther truther right here.
I mean, 5-star prospect coming out of high school, right? Just college tape is unreal. The highlights are unreal. We get steamed up about a lot of players because, man, if it works, it works. But he's been doing it at that level for a long time. He's not a one-year flash in the pan. Yeah, he's almost too good not to. And then the NFL backs it up by saying, yeah, we kind of know what we're doing here. Yeah, I'm about it. Let me break down my team real quick, and then you can make fun of it since it was not my favorite draft of all time. But this was definitely more of an exploratory draft, as well as production issues. And Sleeper kind of hated us today, so I think for everyone in the draft, we know this is not exactly I think the ideal draft. Sleeper had some rough issues today, but no problem. We still love you, Sleeper. If you're listening, we're still looking for sponsors. Get on it. So we started out with JJ. Interesting. I think if I had to redo, that was kind of a panic pick there. I'm still going Bowers in this format. If I had to pick just for the elite, the tournament play of if Bowers finishes with just as many catches and receptions as Jefferson, this format says he's going to be better. So I think I would have probably gone Bowers a little bit. I'm not taking Genty anymore, and in the first round, I've kind of gone off of that a little bit, but we'll skip the first round picks. Bucky was kind of a spicy pick in a nutshell. I would probably change that a little bit, but he's a tournament exposure play. Looking at it a little bit, I'll have to think about that one a little bit. I do want to go. I think one of the things I've thought about with my build is I think I need to have builds that are a little less chalky, and I need to make some more risky picks early on because good will not win this tournament, but you're going to kind of need to hit on some weird spots. So that was just a weird combination. JT for me is just, I think he goes where he goes because of the team. I'm picking him not because I really like it. I think it's a contrarian. It's the definition of a contrarian pick and hoping he has an outlier season. We thought Saquon would be good, not elite on the Eagles. At least no one predicted what he would do. I'm hoping that Taylor is not the same level, but I think Taylor's talent level, I think, is slept on. He hasn't been good in a while. He's been injured, but when he is good, he was the RB1. And I think he's still got that in there. Hampton, I'm just super, super spicy on. I think we already went through my take on him. I'm a little spicier that Hampton walks in, and much similar to Bucky, he's just so much better than honestly everybody. I think he's closer to Genty. I'm one of those that traded my 101s anywhere I had him for the 102 as quickly as I could, thinking that I'm kind of on the take that Hampton might have a better long-term career than Genty. I like the coaching setup a little bit better. I like the team better long-term. I think being on a better offense will put him in better situations to make meaningful NFL plays versus the Raiders just might lose too many games for Genty to just not fade into obscurity, but being the best player on a bad team isn't fun. Ask Saquon Barkley. I mean, he was killing it, but bad things happened. Drake May, because I think there's an outside chance Drake May has the ability to finish as a top 3 quarterback this year. I'm pretty spicy on him. There's one take on May that makes me like him in tournament formats. I think PFF came up with this stat. Sorry, I'm not quoting you right, but I think he basically led the NFL in clutch throw rate. If there was a high leverage third down needed to get it, something happened play, he just crushed it in those spots. In a young age on a bad team when nothing should have gone right, he was the best player on it. And there was a little bit of like Brady, Peyton. I saw the eye of the tiger when I watched him in some spots with no weapons around him, making Hunter Henry and others look good. And if a few things break his way, I think he could have a pretty elite ceiling, even with a lot of help around him, to be honest. Xavier Worthy's totally a tournament dart throw. I'm kind of with you. I think I'm starting to get steamed up a little bit that in this range, I am going to be taking a lot more Zay Flowers in particular. I think he went too late. I think I should have taken Flowers over Worthy. That was one when you made the pick. I immediately knew it, and I knew I was going to be having this chat afterwards for sure about Flowers just needs to go up a tier. He's just going a little bit too late. ADP doesn't make sense to me. Caleb Johnson, rookie take. If an injury happens, I just think he could have a ridiculously high share. I don't think he's going to play out that way. It's not a projection. This is me taking hey, if it goes the way it could, there's room for him to be amazing. He's being drafted at where he'll probably finish, but it doesn't have to happen that way. So this is me betting on bad things happening for other folks. Njoku, I just think maybe could be the better pass catching weapon on the team. There is a chance that you remember when now Jerry Jeudy proved it as the wide receiver 1, but he also had ridiculous target volume. He had all the targets in the world. Remember when Juju became the wide receiver 1 and he just wasn't good enough as a wide receiver to make that happen? Part of me thinks there is a narrative where Jeudy could just get, maybe he's not good enough. Maybe he needs some other folks back there. And I think Njoku maybe stands to benefit if he just can't get it done. I think on third downs, I'm probably looking at Njoku's way more than I am Jerry Jeudy in a lot of cases. So I think just some upside. Godwin was the wide receiver 1 for patches last year. Let's see what he's got. I'll give him a roll. I think he's going a little bit late. Scatterboo, uncertain backfields, good things could happen. I am crazy high on Jaden Higgins because I think he is a better prospect than Nico Collins. I'm kind of a Nico Collins hater. I've officially been labeled that way. I have him a full tier lower than like Garrett Wilson, which I guess is kind of a swear word in a lot of circles, but
ooh, brutal.
Here's the thing. I was early on Nico and I can't get over it. Okay. I was the one that drafted him everywhere and bought him everywhere. And then he was just okay. And then I, poo-pooed him or traded him and then he did his thing. And I don't think I've forgiven him yet. So we'll have to see. I'm drafting a lot of Jalen Noel, drafting a lot of Jaden Higgins. Bajal Tootin, I'm drafting him super early. I think there's a midseason trade. He becomes a little more of the Gibbs starter. Strange is going too late, super late. I don't know, give you a Strange take. I pun intended, that'll work pretty well. Do you think Strange is a top blank tight end this year?
Brenton Strange, I see as another sleeper tight end similar to Tyler Conklin. He's young, he's hungry, he did some incredible passing down work for Trevor Lawrence, even when they had to go with the backup Nick Mullins. I really like the receiving work he did alongside Evan Ingram, which even then, I still think the Jaguars were fools and let Evan Ingram go, but he did some incredible work in the second half of the season where, yeah, he would disappear in a lot of games, but then he got 12 targets against the Jets. He took 82% of the snaps and caught 11 of 12 for 73. Now, that's just barely under 7 yards per catch, but that's not necessarily a bad thing in PPR leagues. You can get it done doing that even if you don't score a touchdown. That's solid PPR volume, baby. So, Brenton Strange, now that he's entering his third season, we're going to really see what he has to offer in the NFL. And James Gladstone said several months ago that he wants Strange to have a significant part in the offense moving forward in a way we haven't seen yet. And they haven't exactly made that clear what that's going to mean for Strange, but I think they like what they have in him. I'm still going to bank on him as a sleeper tight end 2 candidate.
Yeah, I like him a lot. He's my he's my poor man's TJ Hawkinson, where Hawkinson just he seems to be a mismatch nightmare, but it was more of a situation of he's open in the middle of the field because there's too many other weapons, and he just kind of snuck into 10, 11 targets often in his career. And some of them were because he was good, some of them because he's just the last one left. And I think in that offense with those weapons, and I think if Tootin really does his thing as a pass catcher out of the backfield, I think Strange is a guy that stands to benefit from just a lack of shaded coverage of any kind. And I think they're going to be pretty pass heavy. I don't think they have a ground game that can really make it happen. And I think with all the capital they just spent, they're going to have an elevated pass versus run expectation. And that clearly is going to help Strange as well to some extent there. The rest of my draft here, we'll just kind of close things up a little bit. I just took a lot of super high risk dart throws. I mean, Wandale's a little chalkier in this super high PPR format. But Neil Marks, Monangai, and Mitchell, I think, is one I'll just mention. I think if there were to be an injury to Derrick Henry, Keaton Mitchell does profile to be the person to, I think, have a better league-winning outcome than Justice Hill. I like Justice Hill. I just think with where Justice Hill's at in age, and if Keaton Mitchell is truly healthy, he was putting up some Achane-like plays and efficiency. And we know the modern NFL understands that breaking big plays is just kind of the way of the modern NFL. He's kind of my bet for, I think he's the real league winner, not Justice Hill. No offense to Justice Hill. I think Justice Hill is going to have like a pretty big snap share with Henry already. But if an injury were to happen, they need someone real to kind of make something happen. The Joe Milton late round pick, though, I just want to say, I if we're loving like the Pickett, Howard, Brady stuff, it doesn't Milton have more upside than like I think the 10 quarterbacks in front of him. If Dak gets injured, and that's never happened before, isn't it kind of just Milton to the moon? I don't know. Do you have a Milton take? If something were to happen, do you think he's got league-winning potential?
Joe Milton, I will not go as far as to say that he has league-winning potential. Joe Milton has only played NFL snaps against NFL backups. So I think that's a key thing that a lot of people are forgetting, and we need to see what he looks like against NFL starters. Yeah, he looks dang good against the Buffalo Bills defense, but can he get it done against the actual starters of the Buffalo Bills defense? That's what I'd like to see. So right now, I'm not going to suggest trading for him in Dynasty or even reaching for him in a Scott Fishbowl draft. I mean, granted, if he's down there with somebody like, if he's like your last round pick, I don't hate it, but I would much rather take a chance on somebody like a Deontay Johnson, like I picked, who's actually going to catch some footballs, along with Andre Yoshivas, along with even De'Ami Brown. I think is still going to get some decent PPR volume on the Jaguars, but
I love using De'Ami Brown. Actually, he's being slept on a lot. I don't think he's a bad talent, to be honest, either.
I don't either, but I think but until Gabe Davis got released, I just didn't see a world in which De'Ami Brown was going to get solid volume. But now that they drafted Travis Hunter, I think that's going to pump the brakes on De'Ami Brown being a solid target. But, I mean, who else do they have back there? Parker Washington? Trent Irwin? Who else do they have? A bunch of names I don't even freaking recognize.
Yeah, there are some random ones in there for sure. I think a point that goes a little bit under. I'm betting on Travis Hunter. I'll just say that, but we're a range of outcomes, right? If we're doing takes here, we can all be right and wrong. And if Travis Hunter, I'm in on him. What if he doesn't? What if he just can't play wide receiver? What if something happens, right? Again, I'm not betting on it. If that can't happen, he's just so much better on defense. There's a world where De'Ami Brown's all of a sudden the wide receiver 2 on that team. I mean, actually, that's a huge Brenton Strange like boon right there. But there's a lot of Strange paths to De'Ami Brown being way relevant. I guarantee you, sometime in 2025, he is going to be like a waiver wire darling in redraft for sure. He will be the top of the redraft waiver boards.
So, Kendall, I've been joking in a lot of fantasy football circles where in at least one Scott Fishbowl live draft, we're going to see Travis Hunter go 101 and then Brock Bowers go 102. I don't think that would be completely insane with the scoring format that we have. What do you think?
I think Hunter, because its volume is king, and I think Hunter is going to be more of like a red zone weapon type of person. And I think the math, people ran the math on him on defense. I think there's enough people that can check that post on X that will figure out the math. And I think we had Brain Burst ran a bunch of math. I think there's going to be folks out there that are doing it. From what I'd seen, there's just not enough in the volume is king format for him to have these elevated range of outcomes. There is an open bar before we draft. I think we're going to see a lot. I think we're going to see in here a lot of craziness. I don't think he goes that early, just because if you really ask yourself, when you look at the first round, every pick feels super good, and Travis Hunter still just doesn't. Like, when I just look at the guys going, right, I can't take him over the Chase Jefferson Lamb Holy Trinity, even if I'm like, oh, the defensive points. Those guys are just too elite and with all positive takes. The running backs, I mean, Gentie's the 112, and he just feels fun to own. I think it's probably more of a second round range where someone will really pull the trigger on Hunter. I think, in my opinion, it's going to be right after Puka. Like, there's going to be the in any order, the Puka, BTJ, ASB situation, probably throw Nico in that. I think right after that tier, maybe even in that tier, I think Hunter could go, because the names they're sexy, but they're not the elite of the elite of the elite, not fully anointed yet. That's kind of the tier I kind of see him in.
Yeah, and like I said earlier, I don't know if I necessarily want to reach on Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Jaden Daniels over Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson, but if you don't mind punting at wide receiver, going a little later and picking Jackson Smith and Jigba as your first wide receiver, or even if you want to go, who was the latest to pick their first wide receiver? Yeah, it was Skull in NH, who went Travis Hunter as his first wide receiver. Spicy, yeah, because then he followed up with Romo Dunze and Chris Olave. Chris Olave, by the way, I think is highly underrated this season. I think a lot of people forget that he is elite when he's healthy. Granted, he had some very, very scary concussion injuries, but whoever's going to be the starting quarterback of the Saints, they're going to pepper him like crazy, because everybody needs their first read wide receiver. Even the worst rookie quarterbacks are going to go to their first read.
Yeah, completely agree. And I think it goes slept on that he's always had sort of bad quarterback play and it's always been bad for him, right? If anything, every year we're like, I don't know if I want to draft Olave because of all the situations. He still manages to basically put up 1,000 yards every single year. His separation metrics have always been pretty good from what I've seen. I've never seen him play the wide receiver position poorly. And I think he's a situation of, I'll bet on talent and I will absorb the risk that any of my players gets injured, including him. But I think he's going to figure out how to protect himself a little bit. The team sucks too much. He's not going to like break himself for that team right now. I don't think the team is going to break him for them. I think they'll figure it out in the offseason. We're just not throwing those type of balls to him. They'll change up his route tree a little bit, and he can run the full route tree. So yeah, I'm wheels up on Olave as well. I bought him for a lot of projected late round first in Dynasty a lot. Just like I'll take him over any of the rookies. He's an elite class, and wide receivers from his school tend to hit. I mean, look at his pedigree. You know, they're all good. And he played against all of them. So I am with you. Hey, good mock. This was fun. I love it. We've been going on for about an hour and a half. You probably got to get some sleep here. Do the thing. Let's let's say bye to the folks here. One more time, thank you so much, Evan, for joining us, and thank you very much for inviting me and allowing me to post links and everything, and inviting some of our crowd over to you guys. If you haven't checked out Optimus Fantasy and what that whole team is doing over there, they had a banger of a mock. I'll just say it out right now. I haven't watched every video they have because I only have so much time, but that was, I think, maybe my most fun draft I've had in a long time, maybe a year. That was a banger the other day, and your chat community is an absolute riot. There was some beers being had. It was a good one. So let me kick it over to Evan. For all of you guys that watch us a lot, please do listen carefully, and all of Evan's stuff will be in the description of the video. Definitely go check it out. But Evan, tell the folks where to see you, where they can come hang out with you and your crew.
Absolutely. Come follow me on Blue Sky, Barely Fantasy, BEARLY Fantasy. You'll see it right there on your screen. I hang out primarily on Blue Sky. Twitter is something that I don't bother checking all that much anymore unless I want to promote something. And you'll also find my work over at FantasyNow Plus and Optimus Fantasy. I will be continuing to do Monday night mock drafts on Optimus Fantasy every Monday night until week 1 of the NFL season. Every Monday night at 8 o'clock p.m. Don't miss it. We're going to have another Scott Fishbowl mock draft coming up on Monday. But before then, I will also be appearing on Club Fantasy FFL's Mock It Like It's Hot. I will be with host Ryan Weiss. We will be doing a Fantasy Now Plus Super League mock draft. So if you haven't signed up for Super League yet on FantasyNowPlus.com, get on it. There's a few spots left open. Wink, wink.
Love it. And you guys have a really, really fantastic Discord over there as well. So we'll make sure we've got that in the chat as well. Great place to make sure you're in the know with everything you guys have going on mock draft wise. And we've got our Drafting with Friends place. So any of the folks that me, Mike, Phil, Rasta, Tycoon, Frank, all the guys, whenever we mock with some cool folks or some folks I haven't had a chance to mock with or guest yet, we're going to be posting all of their fun drafts in our Discord. So go on over there. I know our crowd is super draft degenerates, and I know you guys have a pretty good crowd too. So let's mix and match, have some good stuff there. Well, for me, for the guys over at the Get Right Fantasy Network, we appreciate y'all spending your Thursday night with us. If you guys are around Chicago, come check out. There are still some guest tickets, and there's enough folks that are going to have a good time. So if you know folks that are going to the Scott Fish Live Bowl and you're in the area, want to attend as a guest, I know we're still looking at some of those tickets. Evan, I can't wait to draft with you, buddy. First free drinks on me, man.
Appreciate that. I'll be somewhere at Maggiano's slurping on some Shirley Temples because I don't drink alcohol. So that's where you'll find me, man. You can't miss me. I'll be wearing my Fantasy Now Plus polo. Come say hi to me if you're coming to the live draft.
Amen. Y'all have a great rest of your Thursday night. Keep it strong in the mock streets. Let's play some music.
Wanted to write fantasy is the play. Mocking nothing but